Hello everyone, welcome to Aptiplus Academy for Civil Services, a premier institution for preparing for civil services in India. Today I am here to cover a very important current affairs which appeared in past 3 days. ठीक है, so past 3 days में जितने भी important current affairs था न्यूज़ में वो कवर करेंगे यहाँ पे. And the newspapers have been covered in different newspapers such as the Hindu, Indian Express, PIB etc. ठीक है, उसमें से कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक्स है वही हम यहाँ पे कवर करेंगे. ठीक है, सो अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट दीज करंट अफेयर्स आर गोइंग टू बी इम्पॉर्टेंट फॉर ऑल द गवर्नमेंट एग्जाम्स इन इंडिया. ठीक है, एंड obviously this is important for UPSC prelims, mains and interview process. And the first topic that we are going to cover today is going to be very important, and this is about the developed country by 2047 path ahead. ठीक है, so this is the news that appeared in the Hindu, and Indian Express also had covered this news. And this news is about the India becoming the developed country by 2047. As we all know that India is attempting to become a developed country by 2047, right? And India has a vision of being a developed country by 2047. So for this reason we need to understand what is the path ahead. ठीक है, whether the India has been doing so much to achieve the goal of achieving the developed country status by 2047, and we need to understand what is the developed country. ठीक है, what are the criteria to become a developed country, whether India is in the path of becoming the developed country by 2047 or not, what are the challenges there. ठीक है, what India should do to move ahead. We'll analyze everything in the context of India, and for this reason this news is important for the JS paper 3, ठीक है, which is the economy, and as well as the international relations, polity etc. ठीक है, JS paper 2 as well. For the JS paper 2 as well, this topic is important, and you can see the newspaper cutting here, and the context as we just discussed is India's recent announcement of its goal to achieve the developed country by 2047 has sparked a reviewed debate whether the India is on path to achieve the developed country status by 2047 or not, and what are the challenges etc. ठीक है, so we'll discuss about it. And about the developed country, what is the developed country? So there are basically different criteria set by different organizations such as United Nations Development Program and World Bank for the developed country. What constitutes a developed country? So as per United Nations Development Program, which is UNDP, the threshold is that 75th percentile of the Human Development Index. ठीक है, as we all know that the Human Development Index HDI is published by the United Nations Development Program. ठीक है, and as per this Human Development Index, the 75 percentiler, ठीक है, so those countries who is in the 75th percentile of HDI, they will be called the developed country, right, as per UNDP. तो ये पॉइंट्स आपको याद रखना है. ठीक है, these points can be used in UPSC prelims as well as you can write these in the body to add your data. ठीक है, what is the developed country? This type of question might be asked, and you need to know that these from the prelims perspective as well. prelims में direct pointers रह सकता है कि United Nations Development Program UNDP का जो developed country होने के लिए criteria क्या है, तो you need to know that, right? And the World Bank, as per the World Bank, the gross national income per capita is above the 13,845. ठीक है, तो अगर कोई कंट्री का जो ग्रॉस नेशनल इनकम पर कैपिटा जो है $13,845 से ज़्यादा है, तो दे आर कॉल्ड द हाई इनकम कंट्रीज. ठीक है, सो दिस इज द क्राइटेरिया सेट बाय द वर्ल्ड बैंक. तो अगर ये दो क्राइटेरिया एज पर द वर्ल्ड बैंक एंड यूनाइटेड नेशंस डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम UNDP द्वारा जो दिया गया है, ये अगर फुलफिल होता है तो वी कैन कॉल दैट द कंट्री इज अ डेवलप्ड कंट्री, राइट? एंड the term developed country, ठीक है, doesn't have a single accepted definition, so there is no unified definition for this, right? तो it stands out its high quality of life, robust economy. ठीक है, अगर कोई कंट्री का क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ अच्छा है, वहाँ पे रोबस्ट इकोनॉमी है, एडवांस इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है, तो वी कैन कॉल दैट इकोनॉमी एज डेवलप्ड कंट्री. एंड दीज आर दी सम ऑफ द क्राइटेरिया सेट बाय यूनाइटेड नेशंस डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम एंड द वर्ल्ड बैंक. तो लेट अस कंपेयर the India's status in different sectors such as healthcare, education, infrastructure, etc. vis-a-vis other country, so that we understand whether India is on the path of the developed, becoming the developed country by 2047 or not. ठीक है, so these are the key comparison figures. ठीक है, वर्ल्ड बैंक का कुछ कंपैरिजन फिगर्स है, लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड दैट. तो HDI एज पर ह्यूमन डेवलपमेंट इंडेक्स, जो इंडिया का रैंक है विच इज दी 132. ठीक है, एंड द रैंक ऑफ जर्मनी इज 9, राइट. एंड यहाँ पे HDI का जो इंडेक्स है वहाँ पे देखोगे 0.94 है जर्मनी का, राइट. यूके का 0.93, 18 है रैंक. यूएस का 19 है. ठीक है, दीज आर द डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज. ठीक है, दे आर वेरी हाई इनकम कंट्रीज, जर्मनी, यूके, जापान, यूएस, फ्रांस, चाइना. सो दे हैव अ वेरी हाई HDI रैंक. ठीक है, एज वेल एज द इंडेक्स. बट इफ यू सी इंडिया, द इंडिया's rank in HDI is 132. ठीक है, as for the 2023 data, and this is the index, HDI index value is 0.63. ठीक है, तो for this reason you need to understand that the India, in order to become a developed country, India has to work more. The human development index of India should improve, right? So human development index HDI improvement means there has to be significant increase in investment in the social sectors such as healthcare, education, infrastructures, etc. Right? So that is the point, and quality of life has to improve. Right, and apart from that, GNI, gross national income per capita of 7 biggest economies by GDP. ठीक है, तो ये 7 इकोनॉमीज है जिसका GDP सबसे ज़्यादा है. ठीक है, ग्रॉस नेशनल इनकम पर कैपिटा सबसे ज़्यादा है. तो इफ़ यू कंपेयर दीज कंट्रीज विद इंडिया, देन यूल फाइंड दैट द US का जो पर कैपिटा नेशनल इनकम है वो कितना है, 76,370, राइट, डॉलर. एंड जर्मनी का कितना है, 53,390. एंड इंडिया, यूके का कितना है, 48,890. एंड फ्रांस का कितना है, 45,860. एंड इफ यू सी जापान का 42,440. चाइना का है यहाँ पे, दिस इज दी 12,850. बट इफ यू सी इंडियाज, ठीक है, इंडियाज इज ओनली 2,380 ओनली ग्रॉस नेशनल इनकम पर कैपिटा. तो यहाँ पे अगर पिरामिड देखते हो, ठीक है, तो US कहाँ है एंड इंडिया कहाँ है. तो we can see that the vision that India is trying to achieve by 2047 is a distant dream. It is very difficult to achieve that dream. India has to do more. ठीक है, तो ये सब ग्राफ बताता है, right? तो you can see here there are some other graphs as well. Percentage of government spending on health and education. राइट, तो हेल्थ एंड एजुकेशन में इन्वेस्टमेंट वो भी एक इम्पॉर्टेंट क्राइटेरिया है to understand whether India is doing so far as the goal of achieving 2047's goal of developed country or not. ठीक है, तो इंडिया कितने कर रहा है इस सेक्टर में, सोशल सेक्टर में. तो यहाँ से भी पता चलता है which is from the health and education sector में इन्वेस्टमेंट, राइट. तो if you see the percentage of budget spent on health and percentage of budget spent on education, ठीक है, हेल्थ एंड एजुकेशन में कितने इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं. US में जो बजट का जो हेल्थ परसेंटेज है, हेल्थ में कितने इन्वेस्ट कर रहा है US, दैट इज अराउंड मोर देन 16%. ठीक है, अराउंड 16 to 17% इज बीइंग स्पेंड बाय US इन द हेल्थ केयर सेक्टर आउट ऑफ टोटल बजट. ठीक है, बट इफ यू सी इन इंडिया दैट इज लेस देन 4%. ठीक है, 3% के आसपास ही इंडिया स्पेंड कर रहा है हेल्थ केयर सेक्टर में आउट ऑफ बजट. ठीक है, तो दिस इज अ ह्यूज गैप बिटवीन द US एंड इंडिया. इफ यू सी द जर्मनी एज वेल, जर्मनी में द स्पेंडिंग इज अराउंड 13%. ठीक है, एंड इफ यू कंपेयर विद द यूके में भी इट इज अराउंड 11%. एंड फ्रांस एज वेल, फ्रांस में भी 13% के आसपास है, जापान में 11% के आसपास है. इवन इन चाइना द हेल्थ केयर स्पेंडिंग इज अराउंड 6%. ठीक है, एंड दैट टू एज अ परसेंटेज ऑफ देयर GDP. ठीक है, तो चाइना का GDP इज अराउंड $19 ट्रिलियन एंड इंडिया GDP इज ओनली अराउंड $3 ट्रिलियन. ठीक है, तो एज अ परसेंटेज ऑफ GDP भी कम है, राइट. दैट मीन्स द स्पेंडिंग ऑन हेल्थ केयर बाय द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया इज वेरी लो इन इंडिया. ठीक है, एज कंपेयर्ड विद द अदर कंट्रीज, राइट. तो दिस इज another point, ठीक है, which points out that India's spending on healthcare is very low, right. So that is the point here. And another point to note here is the percentage of budget spent on education. राइट। तो एजुकेशन सेक्टर में अगर देखोगे इंडिया में, राइट, तो you'll find that the more than 4.5% is being spent on education, ठीक है। एजुकेशन में थोड़ा ज़्यादा है as compared to health, but if you find that same level of spending on the education by other countries, developed countries, then you will find that US spends more than 5% on education, ठीक है, दैट टू एज अ परसेंटेज ऑफ द जीडीपी। तो यूएस का जीडीपी इंडिया का जीडीपी से काफ़ी ज़्यादा है, ठीक है, इट इज़ मोर देन 10 टाइम्स, राइट। बट इंडिया का जो जीडीपी कम होने के बावजूद भी जीडीपी का जो परसेंटेज है एज स्पेंडिंग ऑन एजुकेशन इज़ लो, ठीक है। लेट्स सी विद द डेटा, ठीक है। तो लेट्स से दैट द जीडीपी ऑफ चाइना इज 29, ठीक है, तो 29 ट्रिलियन डॉलर के आसपास है, राइट। एंड इंडिया का जो बजट है इट इज अराउंड द 3 ट्रिलियन डॉलर के आसपास है जीडीपी, राइट। तो इसका परसेंटेज विच इज अराउंड हाउ मच, the 4.5%, right, and if you see in China it is around how much, around 3%. So 3% of 29 is higher than the 3% of 4.5, right? That means the spending of China is still large, and again the US का तो इकोनॉमी ऐसे ही ज़्यादा है, द जीडीपी ऑफ इंडिया, द US is higher, much higher than China, ठीक है। तो it is certain that the spending of India on healthcare and education is very low as compared to the high income countries, right? So that is the key challenge that India faces today, ठीक है, so as to achieve the goal of being a developed country by 2047, right? And another important point here to note is the life expectancy, ठीक है। so far as the life expectancy is concerned, you can see the chart here, ठीक है। तो on an average the life expectancy in US is 77.4, ठीक है, and Germany में 80.7%, ठीक है, and UK 82.1, France 82.2, Japan 84, but India 67.6%, ठीक है। तो एवरेज जो लाइफ स्पैन है इंडिया का, जो एवरेज लाइफ स्पैन है विच इज़ अराउंड 67.7, बट इन US विच इज़ 77.4, ठीक है। दैट मीन्स एज द डेवलपमेंट इंक्रीज, एज कंट्री बिकम मोर डेवलप्ड, then there will be increase in human capital, ठीक है, increase in investment in healthcare, education, etc., and due to which there will be increment in the quality of life as well as the life expectancy, ठीक है। तो जैसे ही हेल्थ केयर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर इंप्रूवमेंट होगा, हेल्थ केयर एंड एजुकेशन में जो इन्वेस्टमेंट इंप्रूव होता जाएगा, वैसे ही क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ भी इंप्रूव होगा, लाइफ एक्सपेक्टेंसी भी इंक्रीज होगा, ठीक है। सो दिस इज एविडेंट फ्रॉम दीज फैक्ट्स, राइट। नाउ अंडरस्टैंडिंग अदर इंपॉर्टेंट पैरामीटर्स, ठीक है। सो दीज टू इंपॉर्टेंट पैरामीटर्स सजेस्ट दैट India is not quite on path to achieve the agenda of achieving 2047 developed country by 2047, right? So key features, ठीक है। तो इकोनॉमिक प्रॉस्पेरिटी, सो डेवलप्ड कंट्री के लिए कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट की फीचर्स क्या क्या है, ठीक है। तो दिस इज जस्ट फ्यू क्राइटेरिया, राइट। तो इकोनॉमिक प्रॉस्पेरिटी, डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज बूस्ट प्रोग्रेसिव इकोनॉमीज, ठीक है। सो डेवलप्ड कंट्री में इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट अच्छा रहना चाहिए वहाँ पे। दीज ऑफन इंक्लूड हाई ग्रॉस डोमेस्टिक प्रोडक्ट एंड ग्रॉस नेशनल प्रोडक्ट पर कैपिटा, ठीक है। सो वहाँ पे जीडीपी एंड जीएनपी दोनों ज़्यादा होना चाहिए, right, in developed countries, and the industrialization and infrastructure, right। तो अगर कोई कंट्री में इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन ज़्यादा होता है, ठीक है, एंड इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट ज़्यादा होता है, देन दैट कंट्री इज ऑन पाथ टू बिकम द डेवलप्ड कंट्री, ठीक है। तो दैट इज अगेन इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट। एंड वहाँ पे एफिशिएंट ट्रांसपोर्टेशन, अच्छा नेटवर्क, ठीक है, गुड नेटवर्क, द मॉडर्न एयरपोर्ट्स, रिलायबल इलेक्ट्रिसिटी ग्रिड्स, सो ऑल दीज इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर boost the development, right, and the quality of life, ठीक है, access to healthcare, education, the public services, these again are the criteria for being the developed country, ठीक है. And the environmental stewardship, developed countries prioritize the environmental protections as well. So as the countries become developed, so there is chance that these countries invest more on the environmental sectors as well, ठीक है. As we can learn from the Germany is doing great towards the environmental protections, ठीक है. And the technological advancements as well, ठीक है. If there are cutting edge technologies, if there are huge amount of technological investments in the country, then the country can be said to be on the path of being developed country, ठीक है. So these are some key features, right? They are important for the UPSC prelims. And now talking about the key strategies to achieve the goal, ठीक है. What are the strategies? What strategies should India adopt to become a developed country, right? So the key strategies में क्या क्या आता है? The human capital development, right? तो human capital में development होना चाहिए obviously. So if the quality of education is good, if access to education is there, if there is more investment on healthcare, right? So that leads to better quality of life and human capital development, ठीक है. तो that is important point. So जैसे कि अमर्त्य सेन had given the term called the capability approach, ठीक है. So capability approach, so rather than focusing on GDP, so this is an important term that you need to know, ठीक है. What is the capability approach, right? So capability approach, तो capability approach is the term given by Amartya Sen, ठीक है. So he basically talked about focusing on human capital, healthcare, education, quality of life, etc., rather than focusing on gross domestic product. So whether the GDP or is high or not, but quality of life, healthcare, education, social sector में जो investment है वो ज़्यादा होना चाहिए, ठीक है. So that is the point given by the Amartya Sen that we can quote in the UPSC mains answer writing, ठीक है. So human capital investment में अच्छा खासा investment रहना चाहिए so far as any economy is concerned to become a developed country. And the economic growth, ठीक है. तो focus on manufacturing and value additions, ठीक है. So manufacturing sector में investment ज़्यादा होना चाहिए इंडिया में, ठीक है. So इंडिया में services sector is important sector. Services sector contributes hugely towards the economy of India, ठीक है. But the services sector has the economic sectors of economy which contribute toward GDP has to be diversified. So we need to move away from the services sector, ठीक है. तो services sector में employment more than 50, the GDP में contribution जो services sector का है it is more than 50%, ठीक है. तो manufacturing sector का GDP improve करना है, right? So we need to invest more on the manufacturing sector, right? And develop a strong services sector including IT and healthcare. So services sector में भी और ज़्यादा improvement करना चाहिए, right? And apart from that we need to attract foreign investments as well. And infrastructure development, that is another key. We discuss about it. Roads, healthcare, ठीक है, transportations, railways, ports, ये सब connectivity improve करता है. As connectivity improves, there is improvement in the cost of goods for the transportation of cost of goods and services, ठीक है. तो final product बनाने में क्या होता है कि वहाँ पे the cost of final products decreases. तो अगर efficient exportation होता है, if there are cold chains, ठीक है, if there are cold storages in agriculture, if there are roads, facilities, infrastructure सभी अगर वहाँ पे available है, then there will be a decrease in cost of transportation of raw materials as well as final goods and services, ठीक है. तो जो final product का cost भी decrease होगा, right? So that is the economic point we can interrelate. And the social development, ठीक है, address rural or urban disparities, ठीक है. So urban ये भी एक important point है. To be developed country, it is not true that we need to invest only in the urban areas, ठीक है. So जैसे कि to become a developed country, India is investing only in some industrialized cities such as Chennai, ठीक है, Ahmedabad, Gujarat, जो Gandhinagar, right, Mumbai, etc. only. So that is not the case. We have to bridge the rural urban divide as well. So India में जो rural urban divide is large, right? So human capital formation in urban areas is more than in the rural areas, so we need to bridge that gap as well. There is less internet penetration in the rural areas, internet का penetration भी ज़्यादा है, कम है in rural areas. There is lack of access to credit, ठीक है, so access to credit भी अच्छा नहीं है rural areas में. There is lack of infrastructure, cold chains, ठीक है, तो rural infrastructure has to be improved. So in order to do that we need to invest more in the rural areas, ठीक है. So यहाँ पे अगर आपको मेंस में आंसर लिखना है तो यहाँ पे you can quote the पूरा मॉडल, ठीक है, which is the पूरा. So you need to know few terms. What is the पूरा मॉडल, right? तो दिस मॉडल वॉज प्रोवाइडेड बाय APJ अब्दुल कलाम, ठीक है. सो APJ अब्दुल कलाम प्रोवाइडेड दिस मॉडल. सो एज पर दिस पूरा मॉडल which means providing urban amenities in rural areas. तो rural areas में भी urban में जो amenities available है such as the transportation, right, healthcare infrastructure, education, that amenities has to be provided in the rural areas as well. So we should not ignore the rural areas. तो rural area में अभी इंडिया का population is around 69%, ठीक है. So the majority of Indian people lives in rural areas, so we have to invest more in rural areas as well. Even Gandhi ji focused on rural areas. Gandhi ji gave priorities to the rural areas, so we have to focus on rural areas as well to become the developed country, ठीक है. So these are the points. So if you are asked in the UPSC mains exam, what are the ways to become the developed country, what should India do to become the developed countries, then you can write these points and you can quote some of the examples such as the capability approach of Amartya Sen. You can quote about the Pura model of APJ Abdul Kalam, etc. ठीक है. Now moving on to the other important points what India should do, ठीक है. Technological advancements होना चाहिए such as the investment in current emerging technologies such as the artificial intelligence, robotics, right, biotechnology. ये सब एरिया में भी इन्वेस्टमेंट जरूरी है. that investment is necessary and government should provide the investment, ठीक है. and foster culture of innovation and intellectual property, ठीक है. सो इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी राइट का प्रोटेक्शन भी रहना चाहिए इंडिया में. एंड अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट एनवायरमेंटल सस्टेनेबिलिटी, राइट. तो एनवायरमेंटल का जो प्रोटेक्शन है दैट हैज़ टू बी इंश्योर्ड एज वेल. एंड अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट गवर्नेंस रिफॉर्म्स. तो अगर गवर्नमेंट इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं, प्राइवेट सेक्टर इन्वेस्टमेंट भी हो रहा है, बट अगर गवर्नमेंट में करप्शन ज़्यादा है, अगर गवर्नमेंट में रेड टेपिज्म है, ठीक है, अगर ब्यूरोक्रेसी एफिशिएंट नहीं है, तो दैट विल लीड टू व्हाट, दी इनएफिकेसी इन ब्यूरोक्रेसी, ठीक है, डिलेड प्रोजेक्ट इम्प्लीमेंटेशन. करप्शन से क्या होगा, देयर विल बी द क्रोनी कैपिटलिज्म, ठीक है, वेयर द रिच कैपिटलिस्ट who are giving bribes to the government will be favored, ठीक है, they will go, inequality increase होगा. तो for that reason we have to improve the governance as well, ठीक है. governance reforms are also important. bureaucracy में भी reform रहना चाहिए, ये भी point आप लिख सकते हो, right. and apart from that there is other important considerations, right. demographic dividend. India is the country where the young population is in large amount, राइट. तो इंडिया में लेबर फोर्स अवेलेबिलिटी भी काफ़ी है. देयर इज ह्यूज अमाउंट ऑफ लेबर फोर्स विच इज़ इन द एज ग्रुप फ्रॉम द 15 to 49, ठीक है. तो 15 to 49 का जो एज ग्रुप है, राइट, दैट डेमोग्राफिक डिविडेंड हैज़ टू बी यूटिलाइज्ड बाय इंडिया, ठीक है. तो इंडिया में कॉस्ट ऑफ लेबर इज ऑल्सो चीप, right. So for this reason more investments can be attracted so that more employment are created, such as recently there is opening of the iPhone manufacturing center by Foxconn, ठीक है. So Foxconn ने recently एक मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेंटर ओपन किया चेन्नई में, राइट. सो वी कैन कोट ऑल दीज थिंग्स, ठीक है. तो वी कैन फॉस्टर द कल्चर ऑफ इनोवेशन, इन्वेस्टमेंट्स एटसेट्रा. एंड अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट, ठीक है, सो ग्लोबल पार्टनरशिप, we can collaborate with global countries such as Israel and other developing countries, ठीक है. तो these are the important points. Now challenges. So we discussed about what is the way ahead. What are the 2047 targets of India to become a developed country? ठीक है, what is the developed country? ठीक है, what are the way ahead? But now let us discuss the challenges. There are significant challenges as well. ठीक है, so first one is the population management. There is large amount of population in India. The population of India is poised to cross that of China. ठीक है, so China is currently the highest populated country, but after 2021 census will be published, India is poised to cross the population level of China. ठीक है, so that is the point, and so we have to manage that population. ठीक है, so how to give the proper employment to them, skilling to them, etc. is the challenge. And inequality and social justice. ठीक है, income disparities है इंडिया में, राइट? तो addressing this gap requires targeted policies. ठीक है, there is need to uplift the marginalized communities as well. ठीक है, so इंडिया में inequality is large. ठीक है, so you can quote few data and facts as well. So in India, if you see the population, ठीक है, inequality level, then you'll find that the top 10% of Indian population has more than 90% of wealth. ठीक है, so that is the level of inequality, and rest of the population, which is more than 90% of the population, has only around 10% of wealth of the country. ठीक है, तो this is the level of inequality in India, and we have to talk about the LGBTQ right. ठीक है, social justice, जो SC STs के लिए social justice है, right? We need to talk about the rights of other minorities such as women, etc. and socio-economic inclusion of rural Indias. We talked about it. ठीक है, so rural India में जो unemployment level काफ़ी high है, and तो that is another important point. ठीक है, तो that needs to be addressed here, and there are other important points as well, right, such as the bureaucracy and corruption. तो इंडिया में corruption भी काफ़ी ज़्यादा है. We need to address that thing as well, and we need to reform the education system as well, right? So we have very less amount of spending in agriculture, the agriculture as well as the education. ठीक है, so education में काफ़ी कम investment है. R&D, the research and development में investment of total GDP of India is less than around 1%. ठीक है, तो R&D में भी काफ़ी ज़्यादा investment करना पड़ेगा, right? We need to quote these things, and skill development and entrepreneurship is important, right? So skill development, there are recent findings. ठीक है, तो recent finding as per the Economic Intelligence Unit, it points out that the India's workforce, around 80% of India's graduates are not employable. ठीक है, so that means a huge amount of graduates who are graduating from the colleges, ठीक है, they are not employable. Not even the engineering college graduates nowadays, the engineering college graduates are not employable as well. So that is again the data that we can find. ठीक है, so this is the point that you need to quote, right? And apart from that, there are other points as well, right? So these are the important points that you need to know. ठीक है, so what are the important challenges to become the developed country? We discussed about it. Now let us discuss about the Article 355 and Article 356, right? So Article 355 and 366, 356 was in news recently in the context of Manipur. So Manipur में काफ़ी ज़्यादा violence हो रहा है, and there is demand for imposing the Article 356, which is the precedent rule in Manipur, and apart from that there is imposition of Article 355, which is the center should protect the state from the other issues. ठीक है, so that is the another challenge that India is facing, that is in news today. ठीक है, Article 355 and 366, right? So these are the points. Now let us discuss in detail about the Article 355 and 356. We need to understand what are the Article 355 and 356. What are the ways that we impose the Article 355 and 356 in India? What are the challenges? ठीक है, we need to understand what are the different verdicts of Supreme Court in past, and what are the recommendations of different commissions such as the Punchi Commission, ठीक है, सच एज द सरकारीय कमीशन एटसेट्रा फॉर द इंटर स्टेट रिलेशंस, ठीक है. सो दिस आर्टिकल 355 एंड 356 इज अबाउट द इंटर स्टेट रिलेशंस. तो रिसेंटली दिस वॉज इन न्यूज़ इन कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑफ मणिपुर. मणिपुर में काफ़ी टाइम से वायलेंस चल रहा है बिटवीन टू कम्युनिटीज़ विच आर दी कुकी एंड द मेटी कम्युनिटी, ठीक है. सो मेटी कम्युनिटी बेसिकली लिव्स इन द प्लेन रीजन ऑफ मणिपुर एंड the most of the areas of Manipur are forested where the Nagas and Kukis lives. So Kuki and मेटी के बीच में फाइट चल रहा है वहाँ पे काफ़ी टाइम से, ठीक है. सो वी नीड टू डिस्कस अबाउट दैट थिंग इन अनदर वीडियो. विल डिस्कस इन डिटेल अबाउट दैट, बट हियर वी आर फोकसिंग अबाउट आर्टिकल 355 एंड 356 ओनली, ठीक है. तो इंडिया इज अ फेडरेशन, ठीक है. सो although article 1 of the constitution of India which talks about the fact that India, that is Bharat, is the union of states, ठीक है. It is a union of states, but if you see the overall structure of India, there is the elected government in the state and there is elected government in the center. That means there is federation, right? Federation of different states, right? And the 7th schedule of the constitution of India distributes the power between the center and states, ठीक है. So 7th schedule distribute करता है power center and state के बीच में, right? And under this scheme it is the domain of the state governments to maintain the law and order, ठीक है. तो जो स्टेट में लॉ एंड ऑर्डर मेंटेन करने का जो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है स्टेट को दिया गया है एज पर दिस 7th शेड्यूल, ठीक है. सो लॉ एंड ऑर्डर इज द सब्जेक्ट ऑफ द स्टेट, बट except in the Delhi, ठीक है, in the union territory of Delhi, the law and order is in the hand of union government, ठीक है. So since the union government controls the national capital territory, being the Delhi being the national capital territory region, law and order is in the hand of the union government, ठीक है. तो emergency provisions, right? तो emergency provisions in Indian constitution, ठीक है. सो आर्टिकल में 3 टाइप का इमरजेंसी मेंशन है एज वी ऑल नो, ठीक है. फर्स्ट इज द प्रेसिडेंट्स रूल, आर्टिकल 356, एंड देयर इज नेशनल इमरजेंसी, राइट, ठीक है. एंड अपार्ट फ्रॉम नेशनल इमरजेंसी देयर इज फाइनेंशियल इमरजेंसी, ठीक है. सो स्टेट इमरजेंसी विच इज ऑल्सो कॉल्ड द प्रेसिडेंट्स रूल्स, एंड देयर इज नेशनल इमरजेंसी एंड देयर इज द फाइनेंशियल इमरजेंसी. तो दीज आर द emergency provisions. But apart from emergency provisions, ठीक है, there are 2 type of emergency provisions which are the article 355 and 356, ठीक है. So article 355 imposes duty on the center to protect the every state from the external aggression, ठीक है. तो article 355 सेंटर को एक ड्यूटी देता है, रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी देता है कि द सेंटर हैज़ टू प्रोटेक्ट द स्टेट फ्रॉम द एक्सटर्नल अग्रेशंस, ठीक है. एंड as well as the internal disturbance, ठीक है. not only the external aggression but the internal, from the internal disturbance as well, ठीक है. so if you see the case of Manipur, there is it is the internal disturbance because the violence is taking place within the territory of India, ठीक है. so for this reason article 355 is valid to be used there. But apart from the internal disturbance, there is the case of external influence as well, ठीक है. so news channels में ये भी आ रहा है कि there is influence of the external agencies in the Manipur, ठीक है. there was use of drones, there is use of the equipments, military equipments such as guns, rifles, etc., which were completely imported, ठीक है. सो फॉर दिस रीजन द एक्सटर्नल एंड एज वेल एज इंटरनल डिस्टर्बेंस के लिए भी ये आर्टिकल 355 यूज किया जा सकता है, ठीक है. तो आर्टिकल 356 अलाउज द इम्पोजिशन ऑफ प्रेसिडेंट रूल्स, ठीक है. सो अगर स्टेट इज नॉट following the constitutional mandate, ठीक है, so state's government does not function in accordance with the constitutional provisions, then in that case as well the central government or the president can impose the president rule, ठीक है. so that is the case here. And comparison with other countries, so if we compare with other countries, ठीक है, US and Australia, the federal functions, ठीक है, अगर US and Australia में देखोगे the federal functions also include protecting states but they do not have the provisions of removing the state governments. So article 356, the president rule provides that the state government can be dissolved, but the यूएस एंड ऑस्ट्रेलिया में वो प्रोविजन नहीं है, ठीक है. दे कैनॉट, द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट कैनॉट डिसॉल्व द फेडरल गवर्नमेंट्स, ठीक है. सो दैट इज द इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट. एंड फॉर दिस रीजन द इंडियन ड्यूरिंग द emergency period, the federal tendency of state converts into the union tendency, ठीक है, centralizing tendency, right? So for this reason the state government can be dissolved at any time. And what are the view of B.R. Ambedkar? ठीक है. So B.R. Ambedkar was the chief draftsman of the Constitution of India, and B.R. Ambedkar explained that Article 355 was designed to ensure that any interference by the center at state is mandated, ठीक है. So center can impose the 355 Article 355 in any state at any time as per the requirement, ठीक है. So the B.R. Ambedkar, the chief draftsman, even supported the Article 355, right? And apart from that, you'll need to know about the Article 356 as well, ठीक है. So Article 356 को भी B.R. Ambedkar ने support किया था, ठीक है. It serves to prevent the arbitrary or unauthorized use of Article 356, right? So B.R. Ambedkar said that the usage of Article 355 ensures that the Article 356 is not used in haphazard manner, ठीक है. So Article 356 is used in rare manner. So as to ensure that Article 356 is used in rare manner, Article 355 has to be used, ठीक है. तो issues and concerns, ठीक है. It was hoped that Article 355 and 356 would never be called into operation and would remain a dead letter, ठीक है. सो जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में जब डिबेट चल रहा था, कॉन्स्टिट्यूंट असेंबली में जब डिबेट चल रहा था, तो उस टाइम में ये कहा गया था कि आर्टिकल 355 एंड 365 को यूज़ नहीं किया जाएगा, ठीक है. सो इट विल बी यूज्ड इन वेरी रेयर सर्कमस्टांसेस. सो फॉर दिस रीजन दिस विल रिमेन एज डेड लेटर, राइट. बट after the independence, the Article 356 has been used in various circumstances, right? And however, Article 356 was misused several times. So we know about it. पंजाब में इम्पोज किया था, वेस्ट बंगाल में ये इम्पोज किया गया था, in various governments, केरला में इम्पोज किया गया था, ठीक है. तो in various states the Article 356 has been used and it has been misused as well to topple the elected government, ठीक है, to destroy the federal structure. तो इसके चलते जो सेंटर स्टेट रिलेशंस में भी अफेक्ट किया, ठीक है. सो दिस इज अनदर इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट. एंड जुडिशियल रूलिंग्स, ठीक है. सो जुडिशियल रूलिंग्स क्या क्या है, वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट एज वेल. तो सो दैट यू कैन कोट द जुडिशियल रूलिंग्स इन योर मेंस आंसर राइटिंग, ठीक है. तो प्रीलिम्स में भी आपको जानना है कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्ट्स, जैसे कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट का वर्डिक्ट इन SR बोमाई केस, ठीक है. तो SR बोमाई केस ने, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने क्या कहा, ठीक है, वो आपको जानना है. So SR Bommai case was basically a verdict of Supreme Court in 1994 and it is related to the misuse of Article 356, ठीक है. तो Supreme Court ने यहाँ पे कहा कि it should only be used for constitutional breakdowns and not ordinary law and law and order issues, and the imposition is subject to judicial review, ठीक है. तो ये पॉइंट आपको याद रखना है कि द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल ब्रेकडाउन के टाइम में ही ये आर्टिकल 356 यूज़ कर सकता है, और अदरवाइज वी कैनॉट यूज़ द आर्टिकल 356, ठीक है. सो इफ देर इज लॉ एंड ऑर्डर सिचुएशन इन स्टेट, देन वी कैनॉट यूज़ द आर्टिकल 356, राइट, बिकॉज द लॉ एंड ऑर्डर इज द स्टेट्स फंक्शन, ठीक है. सो बट दैट हैज़ नॉट बीन द केस, राइट. तो इवन when there is law and order situation, the Article 356 has been used in the past, right. And Supreme Court ने ये भी कहा है कि the imposition of precedent rule under Article 356 is subject to judicial review, ठीक है. सो SR बोमाई का सबसे बड़ा वर्डिक्ट ये था कि जो आर्टिकल 356 है वो जुडिशियल रिव्यू के अंडर आता है, ठीक है, अंडर आर्टिकल 32 of the Constitution and Article 226 of the Constitution of India. As we all know that Article 32 provides for the judicial review of Supreme Court of India and Article 226, ठीक है. So these are the articles that you need to know, 226 and Article 32. These are the two type of articles which provides for the judicial review, right. So you need to know that, and the scope of Article 355 has expanded over the time, ठीक है। सो वेरियस जजमेंट्स आया जिसके चलते आर्टिकल 355 का स्कोप एक्सपांड होता गया। फॉर इंस्टेंस द स्टेट ऑफ राजस्थान वर्सेस यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया केस 1977, ठीक है। एंड आर्टिकल यहाँ पे सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने क्या कहा कि आर्टिकल 355 वाज नैरोली इंटरप्रेटेड एज जस्टिफाइंग द यूज ऑफ आर्टिकल 356 ओनली, ठीक है। तो यहाँ पे आर्टिकल 355 का इंटरप्रिटेशन नैरो तरीके से हुआ और सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा कि the article 355 is only the justification for imposing article 356, ठीक है। सो अगर आर्टिकल 356 इम्पोज किया जाता है तो there is automatic application of article 355 as per this verdict, ठीक है। एंड however in later cases such as Naga People's Movement of 1998 and the Savarnanda Sonowal case, who was the former chief minister of Assam, ठीक है, 2005 and HS Jain case, सुप्रीम कोर्ट broadened the interpretation of article 355, ठीक है। तो ये सब केसेस में सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने आर्टिकल 355 का जो डेफिनेशन है उसको broaden किया, राइट। एंड it allowed the union to take the necessary statutory and constitutional actions, ठीक है। तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने इस केस में क्या कहा है कि सेंटर can take all necessary and statutory constitutional provisions, right, and to protect, ensure the constitutional governance in the state. So as to ensure the constitutional governance in the states, Supreme Court allowed the center to impose the article 356, ठीक है। So article 356 can be used in various instances, right? So that was the interpretation of these cases and recommendations. तो various recommendations were made, ठीक है। So इंडिया में काफ़ी सारा कमीशंस बना इंटर स्टेट रिलेशन, सेंटर स्टेट रिलेशंस के लिए, ठीक है। तो इनमें से कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट जो कमीशंस था वो है सरकारी कमीशन ऑफ 1987, ठीक है। एंड देयर इज नेशनल कमीशन for the constitutional review, ठीक है, Venkatacharya commission, and this was constituted in 2002, and there is Punji commission in 2010. So these commissions were related to interstate relations or the center state relations, and they have all stated that the article 355 requires the union to protect the states and allows the it to take the necessary actions to fulfill its duty, ठीक है। So इन्होंने recommend किया है कि जो article 355 है, ठीक है, this is necessary to protect the states, right, to protect the states from the internal disturbance as well as from the external disturbance. And they have also emphasized that article 356, which imposes the president rule, should be used only as the last resort, ठीक है, in the extreme and urgent circumstances only, ठीक है। So the rampant use of article 356 is to be stopped as per this commission. So ये commissions ने ये कहा कि जो article 356 है जिसका यूसेज है कमाना चाहिए, they have to use sparingly in countries, ठीक है। तो recently article 355 जो imposition का डिमांड चल रहा है, तो कई लोग तो ये भी कह रहा है कि there is already imposition of article 355 because there is huge amount of deployment of central forces in the Manipur, ठीक है। So Manipur में if you see the present scenario, then you'll find that more than 30,000 CPFs are already deployed in Manipur, right? तो कुछ some critics are already saying that article 355 have already been imposed because the imposition of article 355 does not require the assent of the president, ठीक है। तो it does not have to pass through the legislative process. So for this reason the critics are saying that, but that is true or not, that is the case that is to be examined. But whether you suggest that the Manipur or the West Bengal में भी चल रहा है, ठीक है, West Bengal government, there is a demand for the imposition of state emergency or the president rule in West Bengal as well. Whether the imposition of the president rule in West Bengal or Manipur is justifiable or not, comment in the comment section. So these were the important current affairs that we discussed today, okay? So these are going to be important for the UPSC prelims, mains and interview process, right? So all these current affairs are going to be important, and I'll be sharing the PDF of this current affairs in the comment section. You can download the PDF from the comment section, right? So we'll be covering other important current affairs next week. Okay, we'll be coming up with other important current affairs, and we have other initiatives as well, such as the daily news and analysis we cover in Apti Plus channel. TKIS GAN, we can you can read the daily current affairs from there as well, from our website. And apart from that, we have other initiatives such as daily answer writing program, daily MCQ, etc. in our Telegram channel. You can visit our Telegram channel, which is the Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services Telegram channel. Okay, so these were the important current affairs for the today. We'll be coming with other important current affairs next week. So having said that, I'm concluding this session. We'll meet again in the next video. Till then, take care. Thank you.